Everyone hates ads that aren't relevant, but if you make creative ads that resonate with your audience, you can unlock big gains for your business. In this video, you'll learn how to make ads that convert by tailoring your message to your unique audience. DoorDash, Robinhood, Uber, Credit Karma, Bolthouse Farms, my teams made tens of thousands of ads for massive brands. But they weren't just pretty, they also worked. When it comes to performance ads, I know what pushes the needle because I've spent over a decade iterating on ad creative for the world's biggest brands. My teams figured out what performed by working fast. How? We utilize not only templates, but also unique processes, all of which is in the Performance Creative Template Kit I've created for you. Today, I recorded this video to share my processes, beginning to end, focusing on what gets results. You'll learn how to create ads for your business, how to tailor the ads to your audience, and how to save time by creating a wide variety of approaches so that you can zero in on what works. This technique will allow you to find clear winners without testing every tiny little detail. You'll spend less on ad placements when you have creative that focuses on the right message for the right audience. By hooking in the perfect buyers, you'll unlock big gains for your business. Let's start with the creative process for performance creative. The first step is to define our goals of any given campaign. It's important to set a goal before doing anything else. If you don't have intent, you're shooting in the dark. Define if you're trying to make sales, build an audience, learn about your audience, gain social followers, get signups for an event, or something else. Once you have that goal in mind, you can think about who you want to serve the ad to. Next is to pick how focused or broad of a net you want to cast. Most people think the bigger the net, the better. Show your ad to as many people as possible. But what happens is that you catch a lot of people who aren't relevant. That's a waste of your money. It's better to filter out people who won't convert. But the best way to do that is the use of the language of your ideal audience. You can even call them out by name. For example, if you're trying to sell a software to personal training businesses, literally say, personal trainers want to see big gains for your business. Or if you have a product for consumers to work out at home, you could say, your home gym isn't complete without this, or something along those lines. Use their name. Finally, as you define your campaign goals, you also want to define the struggle of your audience that you're offering to transform. Know what they need help with right now, but show them how you can guide them through a transformation out of that struggle. Everything we just covered are the core components of a creative brief. Creative briefs give guidance to ad campaigns to help them stay focused on results. Once you have a creative brief, you're ready for the next step in the process, which is writing ad copy. You don't have to start from scratch. Leverage the Performance Creative Template Kit I've created for you. It has instructions, examples, and templates that will allow you to hit the ground running. It includes creative brief samples, as well as a blank template you can copy every time you need one. So now that you have your goals defined, you can start to hone your messaging. But don't forget, the main thing people hate about ads is that they're intrusive or irrelevant. So always remember to consider whether you're providing value to your audience. Remember to regard their struggles. We'll leverage that sentiment as we write ad copy. How to write copy for ads. Once you have a clear definition of your goals, you can start to write copy. What to write depends on your audience, but there are consistent techniques I'll teach you. However, no matter the audience, there's one thing that always matters when writing copy. More on that in a moment. Copy comes first in the ad creation process because your messaging is what drives the ad. What you should focus on testing by iterating first is always the copy. This is the biggest lever on performance, so if your ads aren't converting, chances are it's because of bad copy. So how do we write good copy? This is where most people freeze. They start worrying about what type of ad they should run, or what kind of image or video they need, or which platform it's going on. But here's the truth. The message you're trying to convey is far more important than the ad concept, the design, or even the ad format. Before going further, open up a simple Word doc. Doesn't need to be fancy. Keeping all your messaging ideas in one place is the best way to look back, see what worked so you can iterate quickly. Now let's get into how to actually write ad copy that performs, starting with your strategy. Number one, taking a strategic approach. Before you write a single headline, take a step back, then ask yourself, what's the one clear benefit I'm offering here? This is your value proposition, so it should be instantly obvious to the person seeing your ad. Think of it like this. If someone only read one sentence, or even just glanced at the thumbnail, would they get it? Would they know what you're offering? Is it clear why it matters to them? Let's say we're marketing this exact lesson. Our value prop might be, learn to write ad copy that converts. That's it. Not discover a smarter ad creation experience, or unlock the future of ad copy. Just clear, tangible, and above all, valuable. This one-liner becomes your North Star. You'll rework it, reshape it, then write countless different versions around it, but that core idea, that's where it all starts. Next, writing visual headlines. Now let's talk about headlines, which are especially important for platforms like LinkedIn, Meta, or display ads, anywhere people scroll quickly then decide in a split second whether to keep going. For B2B products, ads need to tell, not show. Most of the time, you're not marketing a physical thing, you're selling software, a service, a system. Let's be honest, screenshots or stock photos aren't exactly scroll stoppers. So in B2B, it's usually more effective to literally say what you offer. Use real language, call out the buyer, spell out the benefits. It's okay to use more words here. A longer headline that actually explains what you can do can work better than a short, clever one that doesn't say much at all. But with D2C products, it tends to be the opposite. Show, don't tell. When you're working with a physical product, visuals are everything. Show the product, show someone using it, show the benefit in action. Just let the viewer see why they'd want it, and that way you don't have to explain it quite as literally. So the copy is where you can have more fun. Humor, trends, quotes from real people, all of that can work perfectly in D2C if it feels honest and human. Just try not to let it sound like an ad. People can sense the car salesman approach from a mile away. In both cases, B2B and D2C, the job of the visual headline is the same. Deliver the value clearly and quickly. Make them stop scrolling so they think, hang on, I might need this. Now, let's not forget the supporting copy. That stuff that lives outside the main creative, like the caption or description. This part matters less than the headline or visual, but it's still a great place to expand your message. You can use it to answer common questions, share dates or times of an event, or reinforce your core message in a different way. It's also handy when you want to reuse copy across multiple ad variations, since this space often stays consistent while you test different creative formats. Just know that most people probably won't read it. So don't rely on supporting copy to carry your ad. Think of it as a bonus layer for people who are already interested. This could be that extra push for the conversion you want. It's okay to feel overwhelmed if you aren't sure where to start. Leverage the Performance Creative Template Kit I've created for you. It has tips, samples, and frameworks that will allow you to write clear, concise copy. If you can't afford that, check out notes from this video in the Performance Creative Cheat Sheet. It's free. There's a link in the description. Once you have well-defined messaging, everything else will start to fall into place. The one thing that always matters when writing copy is to know who you're talking to, so call them out. The sooner you can filter out the wrong people, then hook in the perfect buyers, the sooner two things will happen. One, your ads will get served to an optimal audience. When certain people interact with your ad, more people like them will be served that ad. So you always want interactions from the correct people, buyers who will convert. Two, you'll zero in on ads that resonate with your audience. Not every headline or ad you make is going to win. In fact, most of them will fail. Typically, only a handful of your ads will get all of the spend, all of the performance, or drive the most sales. When you're identifying and receiving feedback from the correct audience, you're on the right track to finding those winning ads. So what do you do with your copy now that it's written and approved by your team? Before we get to design, more on designing best ads in a moment, let's talk about testing structures. Testing framework. To set up a creative testing structure, we'll keep in mind that a lot should be tested at the same time. So we'll want to create a lot of very different ads at the same time. You may think A/B testing is the tried and true method, but that's really old school. A/B testing typically doesn't work, especially if you have a not so massive budget. Many people who A/B test fail to find results, so they waste money while doing so. The value of testing a wide variety of approaches is that bigger swings produce bigger results. If you A/B test ads that were never going to perform well to begin with, small iterations never would have helped anyway. Big iterations produce clear information on what's performing for you. To do this, we create what I call trays. Trays are a group of similarly positioned ads with a variety of copy or visual approaches. Imagine a baker with a tray of cupcakes. She wants to ice them with designs for the kids who come into the shop after school, but she isn't sure what's popular with the kids nowadays. Today, she starts with the same flavor cake, all vanilla, for example. That's the budget she has for this test. By that I mean cupcakes in this tray are being served to a group who will at the very least want a vanilla cupcake. All of these ads are being prepared with the same goal in common. Then you ice each cupcake differently despite the same intent. You try different messaging, scripts, or visual approaches with cupcakes. That means a few get sprinkles, some get different colors of frosting, some get drawings of famous cartoon characters. Others get edible photos printed on them. For ads, that could mean one can be text only, another can use lifestyle imagery, another shows before after, another shows the product. Another focuses on the problem. Another focuses on life after the solution, and so forth. Big swings. A good variety. When all the kids have gone home, it's time for the baker to close up shop. She'll look at the tray to see what was left. It should be pretty clear what wasn't popular. Or maybe she'll remember how many kids started crying when the cupcake they wanted was no longer available. That's basically how finding winning ads works. To use this technique for ads, start with a tray of square ads. When making ad trays, we always start with square ads. Set up a grid of around 9 to 12 ads. You see, squares get the most spend across nearly every platform, plus they're easier to resize later. Work on the square ads with your team, but wait until all feedback has been incorporated so the ads are approved before resizing to other ad sizes. Finally, you can start designing the ads. How you design them is up to you. Every audience has different desires, but time is also a factor. Consider current trends, what your audience expects to see in their timelines, what would stand out, or what your competitors are doing. Don't be afraid to go off brand or try visual approaches that don't look polished. Oftentimes, designs that are too perfect don't perform well because they look like ads. When an ad looks like an ad, it gets blocked by the mental filters of the audience. Create them quickly, but do ensure your message or intent are clear. Here's where the Performance Creative Template Kit I've created for you comes in ultra handy. It has ad tray templates set up for a variety of different uses. I also included examples of a variety of visual approaches to help you brainstorm different designs. There's a link to the kit in the video description. Now you have a good understanding of how to take bigger swings within a system that focuses on your core message while still producing a variety of results. But there's still more you can do to take this approach even further. Let's talk about how to guide your audience to a clear path to conversion depending on the audience type. Conversion for B2B versus D2C ads. I've shown the basics of designing ads in the tray, but I mentioned that what ads work depend on your audience. From a big picture view, B2B ads have different techniques than D2C ads, but I'll share more of those differences in a moment. What you should also know is that as you get more focused on specific industries with specific product or service types, different styles or ad techniques could work better for you. Part of the fun is exploring by iterating to find out what works best for your specific needs. Some trial and error is required to figure that out. Let's talk about different ad creative types. That way you can leverage what tends to work based on your specific industry. I'll show you different categories or methods to grab attention, but also showcase what methods can be best for acquisition based on what you want them to do next after they interact with the ad. Here are some examples, but not an exhaustive list. Know that many of these methods can be combined, though whatever you do should be pretty easy to understand as quickly as possible. We'll cover mostly static ad concepts, but later I'll talk about ways to test videos too. Text-only, typography-based. Text-only works great in B2B. In fact, you can fill the ad with text as these sorts of audiences tend to stop to read the ad. Talk directly to your audience, use their name or title, use their jargon. Incentive ads. Both B2B and D2C can benefit from incentives, like free gift cards or a free download. This is useful if you are a type of business where your sales are high value, meaning you can afford to pay for a gift card as the value of the acquisition is much higher than the cost of an incentive. Otherwise, free downloads like educational material are great too, especially for SaaS products in the B2B space. Before after. Before after shows struggle versus result, like unhappy without product, happy with it. This can work for all sorts of industries, but test what sort of before after specifically works for you. In situation. In situation means showing your ad within something else, like an ad of a picture frame with a picture in it, or a photo of someone wearing a t-shirt with the ad copy on the shirt, or a photo of a billboard. You get the idea. By nesting compositions, it takes a little more work for the viewer to understand what's going on, so they stop to figure it out. Screenshots. Rough screenshots of a testimonial could work. The more human an ad looks, the more it looks like something that the viewer expects to see in their feed. This might not work if you make the screenshot look too polished. Testimonials. Testimonials can be polished or rough screenshots. Either way, the stronger but more honest the testimonial, the better. Product hero. Best for D2C, show off what you're offering. Make it look great or show how it fits into someone's life. Lifestyle imagery. Showing people using the product can work especially in D2C, but for B2B, if the only lifestyle imagery you can think of is someone on their phone, people in an office, or generic stock, then you're probably better with a different approach. Illustrations. Illustrations can show personality or might be able to convey complex ideas in simplified ways. Illustration is really broad, so you'll have to test if this works for you. I've seen mixed results. This is really brand dependent. Infographics show stats, numbers, charts, etc. As long as they're clear without complexity, they can work, especially for B2B. The more groundbreaking or surprising the stat, the more effective it will be. Puzzles or quizzes. Asking a question with a tricky answer or putting a literal puzzle in the ad could make someone stop to look at the ad longer, but be wary that if the puzzle is too tough or is a trick, the viewer might get frustrated before they actually sort out what the ad is about. Visual metaphors. Humor, similes, metaphors. You don't have to be literal in ads. In fact, it's better to do something memorable. If you have a product that is a little taboo, visual metaphors can be brilliant ways to show the benefit. For example, a common visual metaphor is showing smooth-shaped fruit for personal trimmers. Struggle empathy. Showcase how annoying or silly a common struggle is that your product solves. This is great combined with before-after or can stand on its own. Mystery or a teaser. Allude to a solution without giving it away in the ad. Promise a solution by interacting with the ad. But be genuine. You can lose trust if you use a clickbait approach to ads. Actually deliver what you promise. News or announcement. Have an event or recent news you want to showcase? Be bold, say it clearly. There are many other creative ad strategies, but the few I just mentioned are a good place to start. For all of these, the audience should have a clear idea what to expect to happen next if they interact with an ad. If you really want ads to convert, connect them to a landing page that matches the ad. If you point to a free incentive, then make sure they can actually get that incentive on the next page, even if they have to give you a little info to get it. Don't bait and switch. Losing trust means losing possible business. Do make the process for them to interact with you as seamless, frictionless, or straightforward as possible. Descriptions of all of these ad types can be found in the free cheat sheet for this video. The video description has the link. In the Performance Creative Template Kit, you'll find visual samples of each ad type with further explanations on where each one tends to work. It's worth a few bucks. Quick recap. Now you have some strategies to choose from. You have a better idea what converts for your type of business, but what ad should you actually make? What sort of creative will work the best without too much wasted effort? That's what we'll cover next. What sizes or ad types to start with, then how to iterate with different ad sizes after that. Again, all of this depends on your audience, which also depends on where you're reaching them. Beyond B2B or D2C, then beyond your exact industry, there's still room to get more granular on what your audience expects, which is related to where they see your ads. That's the channel or platform they're using. So next, we'll discuss how resizes can improve how your ads fit in with the environments where they're shown. Sizes and resizes. By presenting ads in the right size or ad type specific to each channel, you'll better align with the expectation of the audience you're communicating to. It's also easier to stand out from competition if you know what's already done in specific spaces. Finally, some algorithms on certain platforms prefer or give preference to certain ad types, like how TikTok favors videos, but static ads can work many other places. I'm going to cover what ad sizes you should start with to allow you to test messaging or concepts as effectively and efficiently as possible. In most cases, this means starting with square static ads. Once you see what's working there, it's much easier to move on to more specific sizes, which is when I'll cover the most useful sizes so that you'll know what's effective. But let's start with those square ads. This is how I set up a tray of square ads. They have a 1:1 ratio. Nowadays, these are the dimensions that are good for square ads, as it provides a nice clear resolution that helps the ad look good even if it gets compressed or squished by the platform you post it to. Squares are great not only for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or web banners, but can also work on more traditionally mobile-sized places like TikTok, Instagram Stories, Pinterest, or others, even if they aren't resized to those respective mobile ratios. Since it's almost always a safe bet to use squares, you can create this one tray of square ads which will then be useful for nearly everywhere. Not perfect for everywhere, but it will cover the majority of needs. So let's design our first ads. First, I place the messaging we plan to use. Watch as I quickly design some D2C ads. Let's discuss the design decisions in each. So here's a tray of D2C ads that I've started to make. First, I place all the copy into each ad slot, and then I can decide from there which strategy I'd like to work on for each ad slot. So for a lot of these, I use stock photography and then place text on top of it for a pretty easy ad. For some of them, I used Photoshop to make the photography a little bit more interesting, or to get a visual approach across. And then for others, I use illustration or only use typography. So rather than show you me designing each ad one by one, which might take a little while, I'll show you how I designed a few of them. For this first one, I used a mock-up website to place the design within a mock-up of a poster to make it a little bit more visually interesting. And this is a news or announcement strategy, so it focuses on the newness of the kit. For this next one, I also used a mock-up site, the same one, and I'll have links to those in the resources. But for this one, it's more of a product hero shot where it's focused on a physical product, even though I'm selling a digital product. Showing a physical product makes it a little bit more interesting, like I'm giving you a lot of resources in one box. Next, here's one that uses lifestyle, which basically just means has people in it. So this is a photo of me, and I already had this image ready to go because I had made it as a thumbnail for the video that you're watching, so it made sense to reuse it in the ad here. Advertising is a great strategy too. I paid for stock for this one rather than making something on my own. And I mean, you can do it any way. It depends on what your product and service is, what sort of strategy works for you, and how you want to make it. But this fit pretty easily just by grabbing that stock and saved me a little bit of time. And I also found this free typeface that allowed me to make it look a little bit more like an obstetrician, one of those eye charts that you see at an obstetrician, which I thought was kind of neat. And for all of these, you'll notice they're not all on brand. Some look a lot like the Humade brand and some don't. And that's part of the test that I'm doing, is giving a variety to see what works with my audience. Sometimes on brand does, sometimes it doesn't. For this next one, puzzles and quizzes, I don't see a lot of clients do these, unfortunately, but I think they're a lot of fun. This is a pretty simple little puzzle of, can you spot the difference between the two images? So I started with free stock. It didn't cost me anything for that. And then I placed some basic typography on one of the candies and used a texturizing brush in Affinity, which is like Photoshop, to make it look like it was a part of the candy. So one of them says winner. Then this next one is a checklist. So pretty straightforward. Sometimes just showing a list of things that are included gives it a bit more weight of what they're getting when they buy the product. So that's what you see in this checklist ad. Red is also a great and powerful color, which often works. So I wanted to test at least one ad that used a bit of red. Now this before after, I used 2 free stock images here and just placed text on it. You'll see as I zoom in that there's a little bit of texture to the highlight on the top there. And that's done in Figma now. You can add textures to the edges so it doesn't look so bland. And then the arrow was made in Figma as well. So everything here was made in Figma, including the image on the left is desaturated. And I just did that by adjusting the saturation here on the right sidebar within Figma. So this was actually one of the easiest ones to make, just placing the images in the text and then a rectangle of color, adding some texture to the edges, and then going from there. Now this next one features illustrations. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes illustrations work, sometimes they don't, but illustrations are a big part of the Humade brand. So I wanted to test if these illustrations would work. And I gave them a little bit more depth by putting gradients onto the illustrations so that they look a little bit more 3D. And then you'll notice the text is a little off center just so that it balances better with the illustrations. So I'm eager to see how this one works. And then finally, for an incentive ad, I am using one of the ads to promote the free cheat sheet, which is a part of this video. You've heard me talk about it. So if they click through the ad, they'll be able to find the cheat sheet on the landing page as well. And that will tell me if once people get the cheat sheet, if they're interested in buying the product after that, or if there's just a lot more interest in the free product. Okay, now here are some B2B ads. While similar, here's why these decisions were made for these sorts of ads. So just like the D2C ads, with the B2B ads, I also started with the text in the ad slots first, and then I marked which one I thought might work for which creative strategy. So you'll see we'll start with the handwriting one first. And with all of these, I'm following the creative brief that I created earlier. If you buy the template kit, you'll be able to see those briefs in more detail of why I focus on this sort of messaging and who I think my audience will be that I'm going to target with these. So the first one, this is a handwritten ad. You can just write something on a piece of paper and take a photo of it, like on your desk or something like that, or maybe on a to-do list. Those tend to work really well. You can fake it using textures and illustrations and notebooks and like photoshopping it all together. But honestly, that doesn't always look as good. Sometimes I try to do it and I'm like, you know what, let's just do this by hand. So that's often what I do, is I'll just get some good handwriting, either mine or someone else's, and then just write it out and take a photo of it with my phone. And that's good enough. So that's a handwritten concept. Next is text only. Red text on a white background does especially well and historically has done really well for a lot of my clients. So I always try to test at least one ad where it's just red text on a white background, especially for B2B. It seems so simple, but if it works, then you should try it. Next is screenshots. This is honestly just a plain screenshot of me typing with Arial font in the design program I use. I use Affinity, which is similar to Photoshop. And then I highlighted the text with my cursor and then just took a screenshot of all of it and placed it in there. And because this looks less like an ad, because it's really low fidelity, it has a chance of working better. Next, this concept is a visual metaphor. Now, there's a lot of different things you could do with visual metaphors. They can be literal metaphors. This one, I found a stock image that had a button that you can hit to make the game go faster on an arcade cabinet. So it got the point across, and I liked how the arrow that says faster also pointed to the bottom, so I could put more messaging there. So this is what worked for this concept, for this copy for a visual metaphor. But you can get more creative depending on your product or the service that you're advertising. Next is stats or infographics, and that just means a really big stat that sounds really impressive. So the best stat I had that was relevant is a lot of my clients have reduced their CAC by 66%, so I wanted to highlight that. On to 2C, struggle empathy is always something that's good to highlight. A lot of people struggle to find winning ads and they waste a lot of money. It's a bit like breaking eggs in the kitchen. This also is kind of a visual metaphor, so maybe 2A and 2C could possibly switch. But the idea here is that, I understand how much of a struggle it is to find winning ads. I can do it for you and help you figure that out faster. Next is in situation. This is showing the ad on something you might not expect to see it. And it's a frame within a frame device so that people have to look at the ad and then look closer to see what's written on the object within the ad. I thought this mock-up that I found was really interesting and funny, a little bit of a warning. We'll see if it works, but I thought it looked really good. Next is mystery teaser. So not all the information is in the ad. This is really hard to sell clients on because they want to cram ads with as much information as possible, but they tend to work really well because, it doesn't tell you everything. What's the process that I use to make good ads? Well, when you click through, you can find out. You can watch this video or see more about my process or get the kit. So I expect this one could work really well, but we'll see. And then finally is a testimonial. And testimonials are great because you can just use a screenshot of a testimonial either from a testimonial site or from your own website. This was just a screenshot of the testimonial on my own website, and then I added the color background behind it. Really low fidelity works great for testimonials because then they look less like ads. So these are different techniques that I've found that have worked for B2B. You can have more text in B2B. You can be straightforward. You don't always have a product that you can show. So it it makes sense to use techniques like these, especially text-heavy ones. All right, now that the square ads are done, it's a good time to review the ads with your team or any major stakeholders. Personally, I recommend keeping the feedback to 2 rounds top. That way you don't overthink the designs of the ads. People aren't going to sit and analyze them, so if the concept doesn't work, then it definitely won't work if it's overbaked. Once you have team approval, you can create resizes. These are the templates I use for the next 2 most common sizes, 4x5 and 9x16. 4x5 often goes many of the same places as squares, but it's a little taller, so it looks bigger in timelines or feeds. 9x16 is mobile specific. With 9x16, you need to leave some empty space on the top and bottom of the ad for app UI elements. It's also good to leave some space on the right side if these are going on TikTok. Now that we have the templates, you might be tempted to start copying your design elements over from the square ads one by one. But if you create the ads like that, then you have to make changes on every single size of the ad if there are any modifications down the line. I have an easier solution that's faster. So that you can save yourself from repetitive effort, set up your files like this. Go to the square version of the ad you want, select it, then wrap it in a frame of the same name, like this. Now click the frame 1 level down. Convert it to a component, just like this, either by right-clicking and selecting Make Component or with these hotkeys. So now we have a frame holding a component. This is useful for 2 reasons. 1, we can set the export information on the outer frame so that we can have different export types for each ad size if needed. 2, it will allow you to create slight variants of the same ad if needed. More on that later. Now you can take that component, copy it, then paste it within the trays for the additional sizes. Resize it like this. You might notice some things aren't resizing as expected. Maybe they're stretching when you don't want them to. Let's go back to the original component. Click on the design element we want to mess with, then set it to center, like this. Set that for all elements. You'll see it's already corrected in the resized version, which now looks like that. This is especially noticeable for the taller 9x16 ads. Any changes you make on the square components now apply to all resizes, so you only have to make changes once for them to apply to all ads. The Performance Creative Template Kit has examples of components set up across ad sizes that you can play with. It also has detailed instructions on how to set these up, including some tips on further resizing as well as exporting. All of these templates will save you so much time so that you can focus on building an ad library that produces clear performance results. That's basically all there is to it for resizing. Some more specific sizes might require you to create the ads individually instead of resizing if the size is more cramped than a square. Here's an example of a mobile banner which requires a shorter headline with less visual elements. But overall, these sizes plus resizes should cover the majority of your needs. Now I mentioned some channel-specific things to do with certain sizes. Here are a few of those tips. Lots of text. Not all platforms are great for a lot of text, but on places like LinkedIn, a lot of text can work well. Also, always put captions on your videos. They definitely help with performance, especially since not everyone has headphones on when scrolling. Beautiful visuals. People like things that are novel, gorgeous, or make them feel good. If you're on Instagram, more polished, beautiful things can be beneficial. Facebook or LinkedIn, on the other hand, those audience could care less. Something rougher might do better. Visual hooks, you only have a second to grab attention. Do something that is intriguing enough to require further examination. It doesn't have to be shocking per se, but it should leave some questions unanswered. Why are they doing that? What happens next? What are they going to do in this situation? How'd they get into that situation? Where did they find that? Is that something I can have too? Space for UI elements. When creating story ads on Instagram or TikTok ads, you should leave space for the app UI elements that will be added on top of your creative. That means leave space at the top and bottom. Anything written there might get covered by the description or other elements. On TikTok, it's also good to leave a little space on the right side edge since they have buttons there. Alright, I know we've covered a lot, but there's still one more related topic I'd love to share with you. Video sizes, variants, and resizes. Similar to statics, we're going to start with square videos for the same reason, but the templates for these look a little different. Here's how I set up videos. By setting them up like this, you can get more bang for the buck by testing multiple hooks for the same core video. The hook of the video, that is the first 1 to 3 seconds, is the most important part of the video ad. If you can't grab people right away, your video ad is likely worthless. By testing multiple hooks, you'll have an easier time figuring out what is effective at grabbing your audience's attention. Here are some hook ideas. Visual hooks. Shiny food, a cute animal, something unusual or impressive. See, this guy was in charge of millions of dollars for one of the big tech companies. Emotional hooks, an emotion you show or share. Hey, I was so confused during this conversation I just had, but I think I turned it around. Messaging hooks. Something you say to grab attention. Nice CAG, bro, but how's your ROAS? Typography hooks. Captions or typography in motion. Sure, you speak marketing, but that doesn't mean you're training your creative right. Handmade hooks, like a shaky camera. This is Doc. He has an important message for you. You can also combine hooks into combos so that you have multiple hooks occurring simultaneously. Many of the above options can happen at the same time. Then you have your core video with the main product messaging. Finally, you can also test different end scenes with or without a clear call to action. You might find that certain audiences gravitate the most towards certain formulas of hooks plus core plus end versus others. By testing a lot simultaneously, you'll figure out what works even faster. There's a lot more we could talk about when it comes to designing ads, but for now you've learned all the basics to start setting up your creative test. You're now equipped to turn your ad goals into messaging strategy, into creative strategy, into design tests that will find conversion. As you create ads, remember to create ads that are relevant so that they resonate with your audience. This is the way to unlock big gains for your business. No longer will you struggle to make ads that convert, but now you can tailor your creative to your unique audience. This will allow you not only to find wins, but also make interesting ads that your audience won't want to ignore. Now's the time to get started right away. Use the templates my teams have utilized for tens of thousands of ads for massive brands. Work even faster with the Performance Creative Template Kit I've created for you. Go to the URL here to check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching. Here's some final resources for you. Today's educational resource of the day is Stories Sell by Matthew Dix. And if you guessed that today's color would be Hex 7B8084, you were right. Comment with a feather emoji with what you think this color should be called. Thanks for watching. Visit humade.net for more templates and tips.